Hello everybody! Welcome to my channel. My name is Emily and I'm the artist behind Fantastical Finishes and I'm a furniture artist. Today we are going to talk about how to block the stains from this piece behind me from like staining through your paint, because we don't want our paint to get all discolored and stuff. And I have talked about what happens when your piece just seems to keep getting dirty and dirty and dirty, and how that's not dirt, it's bleeding. So this today is the process of how we are going to stop this piece from bleeding through into our paint. Yeah. So if that sounds like something you would like to learn, go ahead and hit that like, give me a comment, hit the subscribe button, because I'll give you more videos like this, and let's keep going. Let's keep watching. Let's go. Let's do this. So I have talked about before what happens when your piece is a bleeder, and I told you that you would need to use like a stain blocker before you paint. So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to use Boss by Dixie Belle, and I have here the clear, and it comes in like a gray and a white as well, but I have the clear because I'm going to do a dark color over this piece, so it doesn't really matter that I need to do white because I'm not doing a white color, so I just chose the clear. And Boss stands for block odors, stains, and stops bleed through. So this is what I'm going to use to stop the bleeding of this piece so I can paint it. All right, so I'm going to open this up, and whew, if your can or jar, I should say, is a little hard to open up, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this puppy and I'm going to smack the lid on the ground. If you can hear me, I'm going to smack the lid on the ground, and that's going to help me release the lid. Yes, and I got it. So with Boss, you need to stir it extremely well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my little stir stick, and I'm just going to stir this puppy because you want to get all the sediments and stuff that settles to the bottom in order for this to go on right. Because if you don't stir it, it's not going to go on right, and it's not going to protect the piece how it's supposed to. So just give it a stir, give it a shake, but you still need to stir it if you shake it. All right, Boss is thoroughly shaken and stirred. So what else I'm going to use is a paintbrush. And I do use my nice Dixie Belle minis for this because I want a nice even coat of Boss on here, because if your Boss coat isn't even, then your paint won't be even. But if you're going for a textured look, that's not going to matter too much. But I would say try and go for an even coat if you want your best application. So we're going to use our Dixie Belle mini. And guys, I'm going to put all of the products I'm talking about in the description below with links. So if you want to use them and find them, the links will be down below in the description. Let's get started! So I started by dipping my paintbrush, just the tips of it, into my Boss. And I started with the top drawer here. And I went in a horizontal swipe, and I go up and down just so I can get the coverage where I want to get it. I'm going to take you in closer here now. So when you get to the moldings on the front of the drawers, these really pretty ornate designs you see I'm brushing over right now, you're going to want to take your time here, guys. With moldings like these, it is easy for the Boss or any type of paint, liquid, whatever you're working on at the moment, it is easy for that substance to like accumulate in the corners and ridges. So you want to take your time and smooth them out and really get a even coverage. So when it dries, you're not getting like all these nasty lumps of like paint and Boss and all of your primers and anything like that. I go ahead and I take a little screwdriver to pull the drawers out a little bit so I can really make sure the Boss gets to the edges of the drawers. And I continue the same process of putting just a little bit of Boss on my paintbrush and going over the section I'm working on. So I will go over and swipe back and forth to smooth out any bubbles or lumps of Boss, and I will paint
around the little keyholes right there. And if Boss gets on those keyholes, I'm not too worried about it, guys, because I am going to put gilding wax over that to make them pop a little bit more at the end. You'll see I am doing a smooth, very light touch to the brush because you don't want to be heavy-handed at this because you want a nice thin layer of Boss, and I'm just doing smooth, even swipes with my brush up and down, left and right. And once I get the coverage I want, I will come back and do even horizontal brushes to even out the layer of Boss there. I come and smooth out, like I said, with horizontal stripes, or excuse me, horizontal swipes of my brush, because I want a nice smooth layer of Boss. I don't want drips and drops all over it, because if there's drips on my Boss finish, that will show through my paint finish, and there'll be drips in my paint finish, and we want to have a nice look to our piece. I want to take you in and show you this molding and how I apply Boss to it with my paintbrush, because it's important that we don't want globs to accumulate. So I take my brush and I'm just kind of like dabbing the mold, and then I will take it and smooth it out and go around the mold. But to get the Boss in the little crevices of the mold, I will do that tapping motion with my brush. And once I do that tapping motion and get the Boss where I need it to go, that's when I will take my mini and I will go smoothly over it and around the mold to make sure I get a nice even layer of Boss and get all of those little paint globs out of there, because we don't want that. We want it to be smooth and pretty. Since I finished the top drawer, I'm going to go ahead and pull that out because that puppy is done, so we can get that out of the way and focus on the rest of the piece. So one thing I really like about Dixie Belle's Boss, well, I mean, there's quite a few things, but one thing I really like about their clear Boss is that when you paint it on, it has this milky sheen to it, so you can see where you've already painted. But what's great about it is that sheen will go away. That milky kind of color you see in the video right now, that will go away and it will dry clear, like it says, clear Boss. So it's really helpful when you're painting because it's kind of a roadmap. You can see where you've already gone. I'm going to go ahead and do the same process I did with the first drawer. I'm going to go and use my little bit of Boss on my brush and go paint in every which way, but then coming back over and smoothing it out so, again, we don't get globs of Boss in places we don't want. Now that we have the top two drawers out, we can really see that roping design that was in between them. And with this small area, guys, I really use just the smallest amount of Boss because these roping motifs are notorious of getting like globs of stuff and paint. So we really want to take our time to smooth out the Boss on this area. So I went and just did that whole roping area, paying really close attention and taking my time to get all of the little in-betweens of roping in there covered and making sure it's smooth so we don't have a globby layer of Boss. Now that I finished that roping area, I wanted to bring you up because we don't want to forget about the top kind of underlip area, and we want to make sure we just get the Boss on there. So even swipes, make sure we have it smooth, all of that stuff we have talked about before. I'm actually kind of glad this piece has a lot of ornate details and moldings because it is a little bit harder to apply a smooth layer. So I'm glad we can just go over this together and really do our best job here. Just like with the molds on the front of the drawer, I am going to take my Boss and I'm going to kind of dab into the corners and edges of these molds, and then I will smooth it out. So that's what we're just going to do to all of these moldings. We're going to take our time. We are going to smooth out all of the globs and really just do a good job. Let's take you in closer so you can really see this milky sheen that starts with the Boss, but it will dry clear. But you can see kind of like these brush strokes, and I'm just doing my best to smooth it out, and really the most important part is just to get the globs of Boss that accumulates in areas smooth. The paint brushes will level out a little bit, but I still want to take my time to make sure it's smooth, so I have a smooth priming finished layer of Boss, so then if I want a smooth paint finish, that will also be smooth. But if your Boss layer has clumps and lumps again and is rough in areas, no matter how great you put your paint on and how smooth, you can't make it smooth if the Boss layer is lumpy and bumpy and gross. It just doesn't work like that. So yeah, let's just take our time, guys. Now that I've shown you how to do the drawers, the moldings, all the little tips and tricks to get a smooth finish and what Boss Clear kind of looks like going on, we can go ahead and just do that to the entire front, to the drawers, to all the moldings, to all of that, with that same process we already talked about. I would recommend through this whole process to stir your Boss a few times to make sure that the sediments aren't like going back to the bottom. Just make sure you stir it and it's all nice and stirred as you go along and paint your piece. I do want to talk about one thing. After you pull the drawers out of something, make sure you go ahead and get that inside edge you see right there, because you will want to paint that as well, because when you pull out a drawer, you don't want your customers seeing kind of this unfinished edge by your piece. You want to make sure it all looks finished and it's done well. And so I did put the Boss there too, because when I paint it, I don't want the paint to get discolored. So that's just a little note for you guys. So we've applied Boss to the front of the piece, so now we're going to do the side. And the side is so much easier when you have flat areas. It's very simple. You just put it on as smooth as you can. You can go up, down, sideways, whatever you want, but make sure when you finish it, you go over and do that final swipe with your brush to really just smooth it out. But you guys, we're going to do both sides. Well, I'm just going to show you one side actually, and you're just going to do the same thing to the other side of your piece. I've already painted the top of my piece. I did a whitewash over it, but I still have to boss kind of that little headboard area. So I'm going to go ahead and tape off the edge where that little headboard meets my finished top so I don't get boss all over it. Even though it's clear, I do want that separation between the two. I went ahead and finished that little section up here as I did with all of the other parts of this piece. And this was the last kind of finishing touch. One note though, however, I only showed you one coat, but you are going to go ahead and want 2 layers of boss. But doing the second layer is just the same as you did the first. So you'll have practice and you'll be ready to go for your second layer. And there you have it, folks. We put our layer of boss, 2 layers, remember? And you can't even tell because it was clear, but she's ready to be painted and not gonna get stained. Woo!
All right, we blocked this girl. We blocked those stains from what would have been nasty bleed through to our paint. We don't want that. And we won't get that because guess what? We bossed her. We put a layer of boss, actually 2. You want to do 2 layers. And look, she doesn't look any different. That was the point because we used clear boss. So now she's so ready to be painted. I'm super excited. And thank you for watching this video. If you liked this, go ahead and give me a like, thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Give me a comment. And this was really cool. And I hope to see you guys next time. Have a fantastical day. Bye.